adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. Starring that jetty Jerry O'Lace, Rocket J. Squirrel, and his pal, Bullwinkle the Moose.
Hi, glad to see you again.
Likewise.
We got some great things on the show today.
Like what? Like what?
Well, you ought to know, Bullwinkle. You're in some of them.
Well, let's get started.
Let's see if we can make head or tail of our story so far. Chapter 1, Bullwinkle was invited to a convention of the Missouri Mooses. Meese. Thank you. Chapter 2, when he and Rocky arrived, they found themselves in the middle of a feud between the Hatfuls and the Floys.
Couldn't we sort of skip over this part?
Chapter 3, they were seized by the Hatfuls.
Very painful, too.
And taken to the head of the clan, Devil Dan Hatful, who looked a lot like you-know-who.
Say the name.
Boris Badenov.
You're Sarah.
And in Chapter 4, Boris's superior, fearless leader himself, showed up just as our heroes made their getaway. Everybody understand now?
Yes.
Then explain it to me.
But little or no explanation was needed when Rocky heard a mournful sound behind them.
Uh-oh. That sounds like trouble.
And he's got a bad cold, too.
Bullwinkle, those are bloodhounds.
But just then, the sharp-eyed squirrel saw a tiny house ahead with a sign in front that said, Felonious Floy, Revenuers and Republicans keep out.
Bullwinkle, this is Felonious Floyd's house.
I heard the man, Rock.
Well, maybe he can stop this terrible feud.
And our heroes dashed up to the door.
Who's there?
Bullwinkle, that voice. Do you think...
Not very often. Why?
But just then, the door swung open.
What'll it be, strangers?
You're Felonious Floyd?
Don't I look like Felonious Floy?
You look more like a dry mop.
We were running away from Devil Dan Hatful.
Yeah, and come to think of it, you look an awful lot like him.
Actual, we're cousins, twice removed.
Twice removed?
Once to Sing Sing, once to Alcatraz.
I don't like this a bit, Bullwinkle.
I agree. He must have terrible writers.
Sorry to have troubled you, Mr. Floyd, but we better be going.
It's all right. Drop in any time.
Like when?
Like right now.
And as Boris pulled the lever, an instant later, the bloodhound showed up, dragging fearless leader with them.
Welcome, old bossman body boy.
Bad enough. You are on both sides of the feud?
Certainly. This way, I'm a Hatful. This way, I'm a Floyd.
Congratulations, Bad enough. You win the Pottsylvania Two-Faced Medal for double dealing.
Oh, boy, that makes 94 medals.
Wunderschön.
6 more and I can trade them in for a second-hand yo-yo.
Bad enough, you're a lucky, lucky spy.
Meanwhile, our heroes were lying stunned in a vegetable cellar underneath the house.
Where am I?
In a vegetable cellar. Didn't you hear the man?
What? Speak up.
You got carrots in your ears.
What?
I said you got carrots in your ears.
I can't hear a thing. I got these carrots in my ears.
But carrots in the ears was the least of Bullwinkle's problems, for at that moment the house was being surrounded by hateful Hatfuls.
Mighty nice of them strangers to lead us right to the floor house.
What are we fixing to do, Hadley?
We're going to use little old Orvy on them.
Oh, no. Not little Orvy. I'm as mean as they come, Hadley, but that's gone a little too far.
Newt, this is no time to get the collywobbles. Bring up little Orvy.
And with Hadley Hatful directing them, the clan wheeled up little Orvy, an enormous muzzle-loading Civil War cannon.
What do we load it with, Hadley?
Anything that's handy.
And so the Hatfuls filled little Orvy with scrap iron, broken bottles, old shoes, red pepper, and carpet tack.
I'll drop in this anvil just to give it a little body.
In the short while, little Orvy was ready to be fired. The fuse was lit, the Hatfuls scurried for cover, and then as the fuse burned its last quarter-inch, Bullwinkle Moose stuck his head up out of the root cellar directly in front of the muzzle. Don't miss our next episode. One of our meese is missing, or heads you lose.
Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
So long, Pop.
Where you off to, Junior?
There's a circus going on at the Coliseum.
Well, in your present position, you'll never get there to see it.
What makes you say that, Pop?
Well, look at you.
Oh, my gosh. I put the pony in back of the chariot.
That's what is known as putting the cart before the horse. And while you're getting straightened out, I'll relate a fable illustrating that adage.
But, Pop, I'll miss the circus.
No, you won't. I'll make it short. This is the story of the 3 bears.
I've heard that one.
Charlie Bear and his wife Edna lived in a modest little home on the edge of the forest. One day, after taking in a movie, they returned to their abode and made a rather startling discovery.
Hey, somebody's been eating my borscht.
And somebody's been eating my borscht.
I've heard this story, Pop.
Quiet. Further investigation of the living room brought out another remarkable fact.
Hey, somebody's been sitting in my Danish-type chaise lounge.
Somebody's been sitting in my Danish-type chaise lounge, too.
The mystery increased as they entered the upstairs bedroom.
Pop.
Hey, somebody's been sleeping in our Chinese modern Hollywood bed.
Somebody is sleeping in our Chinese modern Hollywood bed.
That someone turned out to be their rich Uncle Fabian. You heard this one before, Junior?
Uncle Fabian, what a pleasant surprise.
Bah! You're only glad to see me because I'm rich.
Oh, tut, 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 what a vile thought. Let me hold your wallet for you, dear Uncle Fabian, sir.
I'll give you a wallet right in the head.
Later that evening, over dinner, a surprise announcement was made.
I have decided to put you 2 in my will.
Oh, what a sweet thing to do.
It sure is. Let me hold your wallet, huh?
There's only one catch. All my life, you know, I've been grumpy and irritable.
Oh, you've noticed that, have you?
Well, before I go to bear heaven, I want to be happy.
Well, Charlie can make you happy, can't you, Charlie?
Sure can. Let me hold your wallet.
Early the next morning, Charlie attempted to make his uncle happy. First of all, he took him to the edge of the cliff.
Look at that view, Uncle Fabian. Doesn't that make you want to smile?
Bah!
And Uncle Fabian pushed Charlie over the cliff.
Well, did you boys have fun today?
I did, but Uncle Fabian didn't.
I decided not to put you 2 in my will.
Oh, you can't do that, Uncle Fabian.
Oh, of course not. Let me hold your wallet, huh?
Tell you what, you've got all day tomorrow to make me happy. If you fail miserably, no legacy.
The next morning rolled around, as mornings usually do.
Now, this here is a golf club, Uncle Fabian, and that there is a golf ball. Now, you hit the ball with the club.
Charlie fully expected that he would get hit instead of the ball, but incredibly enough,
A hole in one! Oh, doesn't that make you happy?
that's when Uncle Fabian took out his number 2 iron and beat his nephew unmercifully about the head.
How's the head feel?
Which one?
Guess we're gonna finish out of the money, huh?
Looks like, babe.
Charles?
Yes, Uncle Ebenezer. Uncle Fabian.
You almost made me happy today. Let's play golf again tomorrow.
If you say so, Uncle Fabian.
Oh, and, see what you can do about keeping the other golfers off the course. I want you and me to play alone.
It was a strange request and not an easy one to fulfill.
I'm sorry, Charlie, but I can't stop the other golfers from playing.
In desperation, Charlie sought the services of an old owl who lived in a cave.
You see this statue of a heart? Place it in front of the first tee and never look at it again. I guarantee you and your rich Uncle Fabian will have the course to yourselves.
Hey, that's great, Owl. How much do I owe you?
8 cents. We got a special on statues of hearts this week.
Charlie wasted no time in rushing to the first tee and placing the statue where the owl had directed. The following morning, golfers from all over the land signed up to play golf, but ran into trouble. For on their way to the first tee, they casually glanced at the heart and were immediately frozen to the spot. Meanwhile, back at Charlie and Edna's house.
No borscht for breakfast, Charlie?
Oh, I ain't got time, Edna. Me and Uncle Fabian are due at the golf course.
Well, you better hurry. Uncle Fabian left an hour ago.
Oh, no! He doesn't know about the heart!
Charlie dashed pell-mell through the streets and got to the course in record time. There, his worst fears were confirmed, for standing like a block of ice in front of the statue was Uncle Fabian. To make matters worse, Charlie, too, looked at the statue, and he, too, froze solid. Uncle Fabian was never to be happy, and Charlie and Edna remained penniless. And so, you see, son, never put the cart before the horse.
I get you, Pop. Only there's a better way of saying it.
Oh?
Yeah. Never put the heart before the course.
Never put the... let's go see that circus, Junior.
Hi there! Today's poem is all about my grandfather's clock.
Sure is a big one.
Yup. My grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor.
How come it's not running?
See, it says always his treasure and pride. It stopped short, never to go again when the old moose died.
Your grandfather's dead, Bullwinkle?
Not exactly. He just sort of disappeared. But that doesn't rhyme so good.
And the clock hasn't run all these years, huh?
What do you mean all these years? He disappeared yesterday.
Yesterday? And the clock stopped? Hey, do you suppose...
Uh-oh. Let me open her up. Grandpa, it's you!
You're expecting maybe John Cameron and Swayze?
Well, if that don't beat all, how could anybody be so stupid as to get locked up in a clock?
Stupid? Why, it's easy. Like this.
Oh!
Now there's something you don't see every day, Rocky.
What's that, Grandpa?
A clock with a face on both sides.
Private Bullwinkle, sir, with a message.
Just in time.
Is it important?
Is it? Just look.
Hello out there. Peabody in here.
Anything wrong with a Wayback Machine, Mr. Peabody?
Merely changing the fan belt, Sherman.
I guess we won't be going back into history then, huh?
Oh, on the contrary, my boy, we're all set to invade the city of Paris in the year 1874.
Who are we going to meet?
The eminent French author, Jules Verne. I belted the fan belt into place, and in a twinkling we were hurtled back through time and space. The streets of Paris in those days were filled with horse-drawn carriages. Most of them moved along in sprightly fashion, but one was obviously getting nowhere.
Giddy up, Monsieur Horse.
That poor man is having trouble, Mr. Peabody.
That poor man, Sherman, is Jules Verne.
If you do not make with the feet, I shall be forced to deposit you in the nearest glue factory.
Trying to go somewhere, Monsieur Verne?
You bet your boots, monsieur. I am off to prove a theory.
Chateau theory, Mr. Verne?
Man or little one. I am trying to prove that one can go around the world in 80 days. If it can be done, then I shall write a book about it.
It's got to be done, Mr. Peabody.
And it shall be done, Sherman, but not in a horse-drawn carriage. Under my direction, we walk to the nearest office of the French Foreign Legion.
Bonjour, monsieur. You wish to enlist?
Yes, but only if we can do duty in Switzerland.
You are in luck, my friend. It just so happened that a detachment of legionnaires is being dispatched to the Alps to fight the Swiss Navy. By the way, how old is this little fellow?
6. Going on 7, though.
Bone, you just get in under the age limit.
5 minutes later, we were on our way.
But if we are in the Legion, how will we go around the world?
We won't be in the Legion long, Monsieur Verne. And we weren't. For no sooner did we arrive in the Alps than the war was called off and we were dismissed from the service.
Well, we got as far as Switzerland. Now what, Mr. Peabody?
That flag over there, Sherman, recognize it?
The Olympics.
Correct. Overriding Jules Verne's objections, we signed up for the downhill slalom run, the most thrilling of all skiing events.
But I cannot ski.
No matter, it's downhill all the way. The starter fired the gun, and the three of us took off. 3 days later, we came to a stop in Venice, Italy.
Can we get some pizza, Mr. Peabody?
No time for that, Sherman. We have a schedule to adhere to. Our next stop, China.
But how do we get there from here?
Simple. We obtained positions as gondoliers and oared our way to the corner of 3rd and Venice. Luckily, the tide was ebb and we were carried out to sea.
7 days we have been adrift without food or water.
You think we have it bad? What about our passengers?
Hey, what's the matter for you? I'm telling my wife I bring home my spaghetti.
You'll have to cable her that you'll bring home chop suey and lychee nuts instead. Land ho!
I must congratulate you, Mr. Peabody. You have got us all the way to China, but I'm afraid we are stuck here.
Mr. Vern is right. How are we going to get across the Pacific?
To anyone but a genius, the problem would have been insurmountable. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Shanghai, get shanghaied. It was a beautiful crossing. Sherman worked as a cabin boy, Jules Verne wrote the captain's log for him, and I worked like a dog swabbing decks. With just 20 days left, we pulled into San Francisco Harbor and checked into the Golden Gate Gym.
Do they have rooms for the night here?
No, we're here seeking employment. See that sign?
Wanted. Sparring partner for John L. Sullivan, leaving for New York tonight.
What is a sparring partner?
Jules Verne found out. It was a rough trip, to say the least. But eventually, we reached New York, none the worse for the experience. That is, except for Mr. Verne.
I cannot take much more of this. How many days left?
Exactly one.
But gee, Mr. Peabody, it's impossible to go from New York to Paris in one day.
Nothing is impossible. I wasted no time in rushing us to the shores of the Hudson River.
Look, a rowing race is about to start.
Yes, but not without us. I knew that Yale had the fastest shell in the country and were heavily favored to defeat all competition. It was in this boat that we set ourselves.
Just a moment. You guys can't sit here.
Oh, no. How would it look if you threw away your mascot?
The Yale mascot is a bulldog.
Young man, there's a bit of bulldog in all of us. The race was over. We fairly flew down the Hudson. That's when I took over as coxswain. Stroke, 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 stroke. 24 hours later, we rowed up the River Seine and walked ashore into the streets of Paris.
We did it. We went around the world in 80 days.
Bon, now I can go home and write the book.
Jules Verne did write the book and earned the plaudits not only of France, but of England as well. In fact, they put him on display in the Tower of London.
Really?
Really. Day after day, he stood there with a crown on his head.
In the Tower of London, Mr. Peabody?
Why, of course, Sherman. That's where they always keep the crown jewels.
Well, last time we met Little Orvy, a huge Civil War cannon, which is now being used as a siege gun in the feud between the Hatfuls and the Floys. Little do the hateful Hatfuls know that there isn't a Floy within miles, for the only people in the house are fearless leader and our old nemesis Boris Badenov, who has merely disguised himself as Felonious Floy.
Or deviled and hatful, as the case may be.
But the two villains are unaware of the presence of Little Orvy, as Boris says.
I don't want to pry, fearless leader, old superior baby boy, but how come I got to wear this thin fuzz and talk with Conpon accent?
Because at last, Pennsylvania is close to having the ultimate weapon with which we can rule the world.
Sounds yummy. What is it?
I have here a special high-level, top-secret, confidential sketch of the ultimate weapon. Can you be trusted, Badenov?
Can I be trusted? I swear it.
Then uncross your fingers.
Force of habit, boss man.
Very well. Here is the ultimate weapon.
That's a weapon?
That's the weapon.
But that's just a derby hat.
Not just a derby hat, Badenov. This is the Kerwood Derby.
The Kerwood Derby?
Quiet, you fool.
The Kerwood Derby?
Jawohl.
And fearless leader told Boris the legend of the fabulous bowler. The Kerwood Derby had first been owned by a cave dweller many eons ago who put it on and said,
Pardon me, my dear. I've got something to do.
Like what?
I'm going to invent the wheel.
And he did. Later on, it was owned by a man named Aristotle, who one day in his bath cried,
Eureka! I have found it!
You found Aristotle's law of displacement and specific gravity?
No, you idiot. I found the soap.
The Kerwood Derby was won by Philip of Macedonia when he conquered the world, and by Genghis Khan when he conquered the world, and by Julius Caesar when he conquered the world, and by Elvis Presley when he... Oh, never mind. It disappeared for a time, but its last known owner was a Princeton college professor who put it on and said...
Of course, E equals MC squared. Why didn't I think of that before?
Yes, the Kerwood Derby turns anyone who wears it into the smartest man in the world.
So if we get Derby,
I wear it.
and Pennsylvania outsmarts everybody in world.
Correct.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go get it.
There's just one little hitch.
Uh-oh.
It takes somebody special to find the Kerwood Derby.
That's me, boss man.
Somebody with a built-in talent.
That's me.
He must be the stupidest bubblehead in the world.
That's me, Dick. Who that?
This is who that.
But that's Moose, that idiotic Moose Bullwinkle.
Right. He is the dumbest creature in the world, so he is the only one who can lead us to the Kerwood Derby.
That means he's worth millions to us.
Billions. Where is he, bad enough?
He's right in the cellar, fearless leader.
Then who is that about to get his head blown off?
Yes, right outside the window, Bullwinkle had poked his head out of the root cellar, right in front of the gaping muzzle of little Orby.
If the moose dies, our plan dies.
How about that?
And if the plan dies, Pottsylvania dies.
How about that?
And if Pottsylvania dies, you die.
How about that?
And Boris grabbed a club, leaned out of the window, and swung hard at Bullwinkle's head just as little Orby went off with a roar. When the smoke cleared, nothing was to be seen of the house or the villains or of our heroes either. Is this the end of everything?
Nope, just this episode.
Be with us next time for Bullwinkle Makes His Bid or Going, Going, Gun.
Well, I guess that about wraps up another Rocky show.
Certainly hope you enjoyed it. I did. I always say.
Bullwinkle, time for us to go.
Already? Okay, but first, here are some of the people who made this show impossible.
That's not all.
The fingers get tired. Oop! Got away from me again.
Well, see you next time. Ready, Bullwinkle?